Hello, and welcome to Business Lessons from the Military. I'm your host, Kevin Bemmel, and we are here every Tuesday. In fact, but right before I started talking, I was thinking to myself, it's what is today? It's Tuesday. It's Business Lessons from the Military, right? As opposed to Mondays, which is Trusts and Estates Weekly. So we're here every Tuesday at 11 a.m. Pacific time and 2 p.m. Eastern time, with an hour in for Central and Mountain time. And we discuss military doctrine, military history, and military leadership, all in a way that we apply it to business to improve how our own businesses operate, how the businesses or organizations we work for operate, all toward making them more successful. So I want to mention something really quickly before I forget, because I think this is the case. Yes. So next week, we're going to take a break from talking about Marine Corps warfighting doctrine. I'm going to have a guest, a friend of mine, just a terrific man by the name of Mark Brooker. Mark is a retired Navy captain. That's an 06 for, those of you who, like military lingo stuff. Mark is a doctor as well, a physician. No, I'm sorry. Mark is a pharmacist, pardon me. And he progressed all the way to the point where he was running one of the Navy's hospitals. And since he retired from the Navy, Mark has been teaching and lecturing on leadership. It is a deep, deep passion of his. He wrote a book on it that he'll talk about a little bit. He's also writing another book now that I'll get him to tease us about a little bit. But I just wanted to mention that Mark is going to be on next week. I'm really looking forward to that, and I think you will get a tremendous amount out of watching Mark. So for today, we are going to continue our discussion of Marine Corps warfighting doctrine. So let's go ahead and bring up our PowerPoint. Here it is. And there we go. So I just, it just looks military, doesn't it? with the sort of, dotted black background. All right. So there we go. So I always like to mention the 3 pillars of attainment, because everything we do here on the Way to Wow Show Mutual Network relates to the 3 pillars of attainment. And we deal primarily in the pursuits pillar, in the finances realm today. And again, many times other pillars and realms will come into play as we're dealing with various issues. So in previous episodes of the show, we talked about the conduct of war applied to business in terms of applying maneuver warfare, orienting on the enemy, and philosophy of command. So I invite you to go to our YouTube channel and view those past episodes if you want to catch up on where we're at, if you're just tuning in for the first time. Today, we're going to talk about shaping the action. So when you're thinking in a combat context, there's basically 2 ways to approach it. One is to let the enemy come at you and respond to the enemy. And the other is to take the initiative to shape the action and force the enemy to respond. Okay? Now, I want to be clear about this. Just because we take the initiative doesn't mean that A, we're going to surprise the enemy. Number 2, we're going to necessarily have an advantage over the enemy. What it means is whatever we're doing, the enemy is going to have to respond to us. Now, if we're a platoon, which is comprised of about 10 to 15, people, and we're going up against a regiment, we can initiate the action, but the regiment is still probably going to wipe us out, right? So when we talk about shaping the action, what we also want to do is we want to shape the action within the context of what it is we face. Okay? So shaping the action on the part of a platoon against a regiment may be not attacking, right? It may be setting up a very difficult, a defensive perimeter that's very difficult for the enemy to pierce. And in so doing, you've shaped the action by forcing this vastly superior enemy to attack in a way that is going to diminish their attacking ability. Okay? So shaping the action doesn't necessarily mean being aggressive. It means looking at the battlefield situation and saying, how can I best use my resources in order to gain my objectives? Okay? And it may be taking the initiative, or it may be setting that defensive perimeter, that defensive posture in a way that forces the enemy to fight on your terms. Okay? So the same is true in business. Okay? Rather than let events just kind of come at us and overtake us, we want to, as much as possible, shape the actions surrounding our business or our organization if it's a nonprofit. So the first thing we want to do is conceive what winning looks like, right? I'm going to go back to the military example. You've got a platoon against a regiment. Winning probably doesn't look like the platoon wiping out the regiment. It probably just doesn't. What winning looks like probably is not getting wiped, the platoon not getting wiped out. Okay? And by the way, that can be the same thing in business. You can be a small competitor up against a big giant. So for example, you could be a little neighborhood market up against, Kroger's, right? You're not going to wipe out Kroger's. You're just not, right? On the other hand, your conception of winning can be having such a loyal customer base that they're going to come to you before they go to Kroger's. Okay? And I'll give you a real world example of how this works. So there's a kosher grocery store about 6-7 blocks from where I live. And the people there, one woman in particular, is always so nice. She greets me by name. And the store is clean, it's brightly lit, and it's just the produce is displayed nicely, the shelves are always nicely arranged. The fellows who handle the parking, they're always on their toes, helping you get in and out without any trouble. It's a pleasure to shop there. And so if I need to buy some kind of food, I would rather go there than go to Kroger's. Okay. Now they're never going to make as much money as Kroger's because they're just a small neighborhood market. But their concept of winning, I think, and I don't know the owners, but I think it's to create loyal customers like me who, when they want to go buy food, will think first, do I want to go to, Livonia Market? Can I get what I want there? If I can get what I want there, I'm going to go there. Okay. Even though it may be a few pennies less if I go to Kroger's. Well, it's not Kroger's. It's here in LA. Ralph's is the Kroger's brand that we have. So I can go to Ralph's. It may be a few pennies cheaper, but I'd rather go to Livonia Mart because it's such a much better shopping experience. Okay, so you need to conceive what winning looks like, the what, why, and how. Okay, what does winning look like? Why does it look that way? How are you going to win? Okay, so there's a couple of things we want to do as we shape up how we conceive winning, our what, why, and how. And one is we want to be able to see our businesses or our organizations through the eyes of our customers and clients. If they're coming to us, what do they want? Why would they be coming to us? Okay. And that can help shape our concept of winning. Okay. There's no one at the Ralph's I go to who knows my name, even though I'm there, I don't know if I'm there once a week, but certainly at least once every other week. And I see some of the same people working there every time I work there. They don't know my name. Nothing against them. I'm just one of, who knows how many hundreds or thousands of shoppers, right? So there's no personal connection there, right? At Livonia Mart, there's a personal connection, right? So, and I think they know this is one of the things that people, I live in Los Angeles, it's a big city. It's like, it's so anonymous. So it's nice to go to a place. I feel like I can hear the music from the TV show Cheers, right? Where everybody knows my name, right? Not literally, not everybody knows my name literally. Okay, but if I can go to a place where they know me as an individual, that's a pleasant experience, right? And there's for me, and I think they know that, right? I used to go to a different kosher market that's a little farther away, and I remember this is now going back a couple of years, I think, and I got injured, and I used to shop there literally every week, and I got injured, and I wasn't there for about 2 or 3 weeks, and one of the ladies who works there, when I finally showed up again, she said, "Oh, it's good to see you. I was a little bit worried. I hadn't seen you for several weeks, and we see you every week. Are you okay?" Right? What a nice thing. Again, nobody in Ralph's would do that. They've just got too many customers. They're too big, right? And so that kind of personal attention, that's part of that's part of them seeing their business through my eyes. Okay. And so to the extent you can, why do people patronize your business? Why do they do that? Okay. How can you serve them? How can your products affect their lives? Okay. Those are the kind of things you want to look at, because that'll help you determine your what, why, and how. Okay. Now, the other side of the coin is we want to be able to see ourselves the way our competitors see us. Okay. So if I'm the people who own Livonia Mart, right? How does Ralph's see me? Okay. Now, one of the things that's happened at the Ralph's that I go to, it's the nearest one to where I live, is when I first started, so there used to be a Ralph's that was closer that they closed. Okay. And so I started going to the next closest one, and it had virtually no kosher food products at all. Right. And so I would go there and I wouldn't buy very much. And I think a lot of people like me, same thing, we were going because we were used to going to the Ralph's that had closed down. So they had to look at their competitor and say, how does our competitor see us? So the kosher markets look at Ralph's and go, hey, you don't sell any kosher stuff or very little kosher stuff, right? That's our advantage over our competitor. And Ralph's, if Ralph's was smart, and I think they were, they said, hey, we're losing business because we have no kosher products here, or very few kosher products here. Okay, and our competitors, they see that we don't, so we got to get some. So over the last whatever it's been, 2-3 years, the number of kosher products there has increased quite a bit. Okay, it's still not at the level of a kosher market. Okay, but it's enough that sometimes, if I need things like toothpaste and whatever, it will make more sense for me to go to Ralph's because I can get the kosher staples that I need, okay, along with the other stuff that I need that I can't get at the kosher market, right? So that's part of how does your competitors look at you? Where are they seeing vulnerabilities in your business? Because in the end, that's what you're looking for. Because if a competitor sees a vulnerability in your business or your organization, they're going to seek to exploit that. Okay, so you want to, I'm like, come around the other side of the table and look at your business and say, where are my competitors seeing vulnerabilities in my business? And then you can go back to your business and fix those vulnerabilities. Okay. So I'll go back to Livonia Mart. When they first opened, the parking was just horrible. It was a small parking lot. It was, people would just pull in and block other cars. It was crazy making, right? They had a big vulnerability in their parking, and they realized, I think people must have complained, and they realized very quickly they needed to have parking guys there. Like, they're not valets because they don't, get in your car and park your car for you, but they manage the parking lot. Okay. And the first ones they had were frankly not particularly good. The guys they have now are really good. Okay. And they manage things and they get cars in and out of there lickety split. Right. So that Livonia Mart fixed that vulnerability. Okay. And I can't say, did they, try to see how their competitors saw them? I don't know. What I will say is the next nearest kosher market, their parking is they got this great big parking lot, and it's really easy to get in and out. Nobody blocks you. They just have one guy there to make sure that the people who are parking there are going to the market, but that's it. Right. So they have a much better parking situation. Okay. But so Livonia Mart had to figure out a way to compete with that. So you say, I mean, it's just a store, and it's a store in urban Los Angeles, right? But we have to look at what vulnerabilities do we have, and the best way of doing that is to say, how are my competitors looking at me, looking at my business? Okay. So the next thing we want to consider, as in terms of shaping the action, is we want to look as far ahead as we can. Okay. Now, here's the thing. I hesitate to use this word balance because it's not really a balance, but there's a reality that we have to deal with. And that is, we can plan and make goals that are long-term, but business, like war, is an inherently chaotic human endeavor, and it's never going to go the way we think it will go. So you might say, well, then why bother planning, right? And the answer is because if we have no sense of where we're trying to get to, we're not going to get anywhere. So we want to plan objectives that we can target, even as we look for options on how to get to those objectives. So that's what thinking far ahead allows us to do. It says, okay, where do I want to be in 5 years, 10 years, 1 year, 1 year, 5 year, 10 year, at least. Okay. And then what are my options for getting there? Okay. So let's say, let's take the 5-year plan. Okay. Let's say you want your business to be a certain size after 5 years. Okay. So how are you going to get there? What are your options for getting there? If you only have one option for getting there, you may have a problem in your business, because what if something happens that blocks off that option? Now you have nothing, right? So you may need to rework your business so you have more than one marketing avenue, more than one revenue stream, okay? So that, if you hit a sort of a big blockage here, it's okay, I can go over here and I can still reach my goal, okay? And as you shape up those options for reaching your goal, okay, so maybe let's say you have options A, B, C, and D, and maybe in fact C looks like the best way to get there. So you'll pursue option C first, okay? And if it gets you there, great, okay? But you're probably going to hit some bumps on the road to exercising option C, and you may need to jump over into, option A, okay? And you've got to be prepared to make those changes as the territory ahead changes, and you respond to the chaos of business by being agile. We've talked about that in previous shows. Okay, so here's the thing about thinking far ahead. The higher up you are in the running of the organization, the farther out your outlook has to be. Okay, so if you're a frontline person, okay, you probably don't need to think any farther ahead than, how am I going to help customers today? Or how am I going to help clients today? Okay, but if you're a supervisor, okay, you may need to be thinking out more like a month or a quarter or a year. How am I going to motivate my people? How am I going to help my staff reach the objectives? How do I need to support them? What tools do they need? Okay, what kind of encouragement do they need? Okay, so you need to be thinking out farther. Now, if you're the person who, let's say you own the business, right? You need to be thinking out as long term as you possibly can. What is the end result of this business? Is it to build it up and transfer it to the next generation in your family? Is it to build it up and sell it to another company and get acquired and be bought out? Is it to become the biggest company in the marketplace by buying out competitors? Okay, what is your plan, your long-term plan, 10, 20, 30 years out? What are you looking to do? Okay, and it's your job then, okay, now, so to achieve this 30-year objective, what do I need to be doing at the 20-year point, at the 10-year point, at the 5-year point? Okay, so you want to be thinking ahead. And again, you want to be looking at options, different paths to get there. Okay, and that goes, so just as I was saying a minute ago, the higher up you are in the hierarchy of the organization, the farther out you have to look. The same thing is, even if you're well, not even if you're a frontline worker and your concerns are really today and maybe tomorrow, okay, still, what are my options in order, do I just have, you're a car salesman, do I just have waiting for people to come into the showroom to try and sell them a car? Or are there other ways I can sell cars? Can I be reaching out to local businesses, encouraging them to come in and take a look at what we've got and establishing those relationships? Okay, even though they don't need a vehicle today, right? Well, why don't you come down? Let me buy you a cup of coffee and just show us our models. No need to buy, just so you can see what we've got and see, is this something that maybe at some point in the future might be of interest to you? We'll take you out for a test ride so you can see, have you never been, let's say you're a Jeep salesman. Have you ever been in a Jeep? No? Oh, well, come on, it'll be fun. We'll take the top down, or something like that, right? So how far ahead you think will in part be determined by where you're at in the organization, but you still know whether your horizon is only a few days or it's 30 years, you still need to be looking at what are those options for getting to my goal. Okay. All right. So that's how you shape the action. Okay. You conceive what winning is, figure out the what, why, and how of it. You do your best to see your organization, your business through the eyes of your customers and clients, but also through the eyes of your competitors, so you can identify vulnerabilities and fix those vulnerabilities. Okay. And then you want to look far ahead, think far ahead in terms of your organization, to keep it vital, to keep it moving toward its objectives, and always be planning multiple options for getting there. Okay. And in so doing, you're going to shape the action rather than let just the flood of what happens day to day hit you, and then you're just reacting to that flood of activity. All right, so that is our show for today, shaping the action. And let's go ahead and, oops, I'm clicking the wrong thing. Okay, stop share. So as I mentioned at the beginning of the show, next week I have my guest, Mark Brooker, coming on to talk about leadership. And then the week after that, we'll pick up again on the rest of this section of Marine Corps warfighting doctrine applied to business. So I want to thank you very much for joining me. A reminder that tomorrow is my show, People Making Money, and my guest is Jeff Brown. He's going to be talking about his practice of helping people live holistic, healthy lives. And he's going to talk about how he got into that business and how he helps people. So I invite you to join me. You can join us live, go to our Eventbrite page and get a free ticket, or tune in to our live stream, and that is at 12:30 p.m. Wednesday, tomorrow, 12:30 p.m. Pacific time, 3:30 p.m. Eastern time, and then of course 12:30 Mountain, 1:30 Mountain, 2:30 Central time. So I invite you to join me tomorrow. And then next week we have our complete lineup again. Trust and Estates Weekly, Monday, 10 a.m. Pacific time. And then the next edition of Business Lessons from the Military on Tuesday at 11 a.m. Pacific time with my guest, Mark. And then the next edition of People Making Money. And that is with, I have a guest there as well, Lori Israel. I think you will find a fascinating topic. So Lori is a lawyer. She's worked in family and estate law her entire career. And we're going to be talking about prenuptial agreements. So you're thinking, well, I don't have to worry about that. I'm already married, or I don't have the assets to be concerned about prenuptial agreements or whatever. I encourage you to tune in nonetheless, because she's going to be talking about money and marriage, which is a broader topic. And so whether you are married now and dealing with financial issues, or whether you're planning to get married and will need to be dealing with them, or whether you are no longer married and maybe because of financial issues, I think you will enjoy and profit and benefit from listening to Lori next week. I'm really looking forward to that. We had a wonderful conversation about it last week, and I can't wait for that particular show as well. So thank you very much for joining me this morning, or this afternoon if you're on the East Coast, and I appreciate it very much. If you like the show, please do consider subscribing to our YouTube channel. It's really easy to do. Just go on there, click subscribe, and then you'll always be informed when there is a new episode posting. That being said, just have to give my sign off, and that is, Marie, darling, you are my belle. Thanks again for watching, and hope to see you tomorrow.